their best. Tonight on The Story, we're taking you inside Portland City Hall, through security, up the marble staircase, and into the newly renovated council chambers. For the last time, our mayor and commissioners will meet under the city's current form of government. The advice the mayor and commissioners have for the next set of councilors, and their emotional goodbye. Wednesday morning marked a final act for many inside Portland City Hall, and the community showed up to watch.
This is also the very last day of meetings for this particular city council.
Inside newly renovated council chambers, which came with no shortage of technical difficulties.
I truly believe we have a new mayor and council who believes in the very best of Portland. My computer just died.
Wow, no. There it is.
Okay.
Mayor Ted Wheeler and Portland's 4 city commissioners said goodbye to the current form of government and each other.
I am grateful for your service to my office and our city.
I'm grieving today a bit. I am grieving because I've enjoyed serving with the 4 other people that I've been serving with.
Commissioner Dan Ryan, the only one to remain on council come the new year.
Councilor Ryan is this commission's sole survivor.
Starting January 1st, Ryan will join 11 other councilors, each representing a district instead of bureaus. A city administrator will oversee city business and implement laws passed by council.
Life is always about transitions. I've had a pretty long career at this point, and I've enjoyed the pivots and the opportunities to build something new.
I will be the last mayor in the history of this city to preside over the Portland City Council. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's good. The mayor should never have been the presiding officer of the city council.
Mayor Ted Wheeler is working with Mayor-elect Keith Wilson, teaching him the ropes. And there are many.
Not only make sure he understands all the programs that we have in place, the policies, the leadership that's in place, the streams of funding, some of the budget issues, but I'm also working with him to see how we can fast track some of his agenda.
Commissioners offered advice for the incoming councilors to be sworn in on Thursday.
You are in a fishbowl when you're an elected official, and again, I didn't shy away from tough issues. I was pretty direct in social media and communication. That garnered a lot of attention, and so you just have to be ready for that when it comes.
I do want to send this truth, though. Being a member of City Council is truly a team sport. You guys are all pulling for the same goals. I encourage you to work together. Disagreements are going to happen.
So I would just say follow your values and what you're talking about, and you will be able to make a great impact on the city.
As for what's next for these officials, well, it's a mixed bag.
Well, the first thing is to recharge my batteries, take some time off, spend a little bit of time with loved ones, and I'll take it from there. I don't have specific plans yet in terms of what comes next.
I'm reaching in the private sector. I'll have an announcement that'll be public in the next week or two as I'm negotiating an offer.
Right now I'm enjoying the holiday with my family. This weekend I'm making tamales with my family because we do it every year, and I can't wait for that. And then in January, I will start thinking about what I want to do next.
I'm going to clean my house. There are portions of my house that have not been vacuumed since 2020. So I'm going to open some mail, which has not been open for a long, long time. I'm going to clean my house. I'm going to hug my kids, and I'm going to get out there and enjoy a beautiful Portland winter.
Oh, Commissioner Maps, that one made me laugh. And I was surprised how emotional some got today, but I mean, it makes sense. They've worked together during some difficult times in Portland. And I have to say, I even got a little nostalgic today. I'll miss meeting them for interviews. I've gotten to know those commissioners over the years, but I'm sure they won't miss seeing me knock on their office door, always asking for comment. Today, Wheeler said he was thankful the new chamber renovation was done on time. Again, the new 12 city councilors will be sworn in tomorrow, and they start January 1st. And so I wanted to know if the outgoing commissioners would have done anything differently. Here's what they said.
Well, I think everybody wishes they could do some things differently, but we dug in on the really hard issues in a 2-year term that was abbreviated. So I'm very, very proud of that. Many of your assumptions on the outside are nothing like what it is on the inside. Often assumptions about what motivates people turn out to be inaccurate.
Obviously, mistakes were made, and I take responsibility for every mistake that happened under my watch.
I think I did everything in my heart that I set out to do.
All right, heading now to Toledo, Oregon, a coastal town just outside of Newport. Right now, the Toledo City Council is meeting, and on their agenda for discussion tonight, a racist letter sent to several city leaders. Here's a live look at the meeting over Zoom. The mayor and several city councilors got that letter in the mail. Toledo's mayor reached out to our team on the story shortly after getting it. And we mean it when we say we read all of your emails. But after he got in touch with us, producer Ashley Koch went out to meet him.
Tiny Toledo, Oregon, just a few miles off the coast.
We are the blue-collar hub of Lincoln County.
Population, just under 4,000, led by the guy who knows...
How you doing, John?
Good. Just about everyone.
Got to go coach our junior high boys in their last game.
But last week, Toledo Mayor Rod Cross got a shock in his mailbox at home.
If you see a bunch of brown folks getting in a car, write down the plate number.
A letter titled The Brown Roundup, Part 1.
And it states that starting the last part of January 2025, this nation will commence the largest roundup of brown illegals in our history.
It goes on to explain how to help that effort.
For example, parking in a church parking lot and taking down license plates and car makes and models of folks that are brown. Schools, as you wait in line to pick up the kiddos or the grandkiddos, if you see brown folks, record the plate number.
Mayor Cross says the letter was sent to his home.
I'm a proud American veteran, and this country does not stand for that.
And the homes of other members of Toledo City Council.
It's got the whole Portland post office stamp on it.
The P.O. box on the return address is fake. But other mayors and city councilors in Lincoln County got it too. It showed up in the mailbox of Lincoln City Mayor Susan Walke, who says, "I want people to know that Lincoln City is an inclusive and welcoming community." And Lincoln County says, "Our commission and our office are disgusted by and reject this call for wholesale racial targeting."
I think small towns were targeted. I think they targeted places that they thought there might be a receptive audience. I also think that they targeted small towns because of, to be honest, our lack of resources to investigate this.
Cross says it came as a surprise.
In Lincoln County, I don't think I've ever had a conversation about illegal immigration. And I've lived in Lincoln County for 28 years. So this was striking to me because I don't hear anything about this from even our constituents.
But the letters come as President-elect Donald Trump promises mass deportations when he takes office for his second term in January.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
His incoming border czar, Tom Homan, already making plans to mobilize federal agents.
I want you to run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen.
But Oregon and Washington are sanctuary states. State law prevents local jails from working with federal immigration enforcement. Mayor Cross says he understands how broken the immigration system is, but if someone has a concern, he wants to hear from them.
Our residents are my number one goal, is to keep them safe.
Reporting in Toledo, Ashley Koch, KGW News.
Earlier today, the Oregon Department of Justice announced they were rolling out a new Sanctuary Promise Community Toolkit. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it's a section on the DOJ website that explains the state's sanctuary laws, gives tips on how families can prepare for times with federal immigration officers, and provides resources for those who think their rights might have been violated. All right, now we want to hear from you. What is going through your mind after hearing about that letter in Toledo? Send us your thoughts. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Now to a major ruling today in Montana that could have regional ripple effects, as the Supreme Court there ruled that global warming cannot be ignored, upholding a landmark climate case that we've previously reported here on the story. 16 young people aged 6 to 23 sued the state of Montana, arguing they were being actively harmed by their own state's environmental policies on climate change. A state judge ruled in their favor in August 2023, and today the Montana Supreme Court agreed in a 6-1 ruling. The justices found that a policy that prevented Montana from considering the effect of greenhouse gases when issuing permits for fossil fuel development is unconstitutional. Things like oil, gas, and coal projects, meaning moving forward, the state is required to consider climate impacts on all future fossil fuel permits. The state argued that Montana's emissions are small on a global scale and that reducing them would have no effect on climate change. The justices were not buying that, likening it to the saying, if everyone else jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? Chief Justice Mike McGrath wrote, plaintiffs may enforce their constitutional right to a clean and healthful environment against the state, which owes them that affirmative duty without requiring everyone else to stop jumping off bridges or adding fuel to the fire. Otherwise, the right to a clean and healthful environment is meaningless. Not holding back there. Meantime, the state's Republican governor had strong words against the ruling, saying it will lead to, quote, perpetual lawsuits that will waste taxpayer dollars and drive up energy bills for hardworking Montanans. This decision does nothing more than declare open season on Montana's all-of-the-above approach to energy, which is key to providing affordable and reliable energy to homes, schools, and businesses across our state. The ruling adds to a small number of legal decisions establishing a government duty to protect citizens from climate change. And perhaps it could add some fuel to a similar lawsuit that started right here in Oregon. Back in 2015, 21 young Oregonians filed a climate case against the federal government, arguing constitutional violations similar to the Montana case, but on the federal level. That case has been stuck in the system for nearly a decade now, facing all kinds of setbacks. Most recently, back in September of this year, they petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court in an effort to revive it from being tossed out by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. No word yet on if justices in D.C. will even hear the case. Tonight, a Clark County defense attorney is facing serious felony charges after being accused of forging a court order in an attempt to prevent her client from being arrested. Josephine Townsend was charged by the state attorney general's office and faces 2 felony counts of forgery. Here's what happened. Back in July, Townsend's client was facing an arrest for violating an anti-harassment order. Townsend allegedly created a fake court order, making it look like the protection order her client had to follow covered 500 feet, not 5,000. Despite appearing official with a judge's signature and a stamp by the court clerk, detectives say the document was never actually submitted to the court for approval or signed by the judge. Okay, Devin Haskins is in Clark County. Devin, this is shocking those in the legal world. What are you hearing?
Yeah, this is a case, Blair, that has those in the legal profession just baffled by it. I talked to a lawyer who works across the street from Josephine Townsend's law firm, and she was surprised when I brought the charges to her and told her what this lawyer was accused of, and she said that she thought it was unimaginable and unreal that a lawyer could be accused of doing what she's being accused of doing. And so we tried to talk to Miss Townsend. We walked into her law firm. An employee we talked to said that she was there but unavailable, and said if we had any questions, we had to talk to Townsend's lawyer. We sent an email out to Townsend's lawyer and so far have not heard back. If convicted, Townsend faces 90 days in jail and up to $5,000 in fines. Blair?
All right, Devin Haskins in Clark County for us tonight. Devin, thank you. Well, up next on The Story, we talk a lot about transportation on this show, things like the gas tax and the new I-5 bridge. But Washington residents could soon be paying for their roads per mile driven, an idea that's been tossed around Oregon as well. We'll explain when The Story returns. Now let's get to a few of your thoughts on a story I brought you last night. Portland's new fentanyl hotspot in the Goose Hollow neighborhood, southwest of downtown. I showed you how a business owner spent thousands of dollars to make his property less inviting to homeless people and those addicted to drugs, as well as what police, the city, and the county are either doing or simply saying about it. Now, when it comes to Portland police, they tell me they've been targeting the area for months, but stressed that they can't arrest their way out of this crisis. A viewer on our YouTube channel wrote, "Can't arrest your way out of it, but you can arrest people off of the streets, then you can place them in the appropriate location, like jail, mental hospital, rehab, medical facilities, etc." Linda wrote to us that she lives near Goose Hollow by PSU. She says, "I have been here for 4 years and honestly do not see any progress towards making the city safer and cleaner. I use the Central Library, which has become a homeless day center. When will the welfare of the majority be as important as the rights of the mentally ill and homeless? It is hard to live in the city right now."
My thought is, it seems that every few weeks or months there's a new place that they're gathering. We've shut down bottle return places because they hang out there. They destroy things. What I don't understand is this. We have the mayor who's working so hard to make sure that there's an easy transition to handle this problem. That is ridiculous because he hasn't done anything to handle it, so there's nothing to pass on. I really pray that the new mayor has some idea to do something about it, because the people who suffer is everyone who follows the law.
A similar theme on our YouTube page saying, "I have hope for the new leadership. Maybe now we hear less excuses and see real progress, but I'm still new here." And speaking of new leadership, today I learned that Mayor-elect Keith Wilson will release details on his new response to the homeless crisis sometime soon, and we'll certainly bring that to you when we learn more. Lawmakers in the state of Washington say they've come up with a new way to pay for road projects. How would you feel about paying for every mile you drive? Well, that's something the state is considering. But the idea of a pay-per-mile system is gaining steam in Olympia, and it's been talked about in Salem, too. Drew Mickelson is north of the Columbia tonight with a look at the proposal there.
For more than 100 years, the state of Washington has relied on gas taxes to pay for roads. But with more plug-in and fuel-efficient vehicles on the road, there's talk of transitioning to a pay-per-mile system. State transportation officials have repeatedly heard the threat. Relying on a gas tax to pay for roads is not sustainable.
This September was the first time that we actually saw the first downturn.
Legislators learn the future is now.
The inevitable is starting to happen, which is that the revenues are suffering.
Representative Jake Fye says next month he will propose making pay per mile a voluntary system for electric vehicle drivers who would, in exchange, get licensing fees waived, and said maybe hybrid owners would be offered the opportunity in the early stages of what would be a transition to mandatory road usage charges.
I just feel that is in the position that I'm in, that it would be irresponsible to just continue as we have and continue studying, and we get ourselves into a situation that becomes more drastic.
Where are we headed with this on enforcement? I mean, is there a mileage jail coming up?
Republicans raised concerns during joint House and Senate transportation hearing.
The constituents in my district don't like a per-mile tax because they believe it's an invasion of their privacy.
Representative Andrew Barkas, the top-ranking Republican on the House Transportation Committee, says his party is not opposed to transitioning away from the gas tax. They just want to make sure drivers are not overtaxed.
People are afraid that we're going to have both the gas tax in place and this new road usage charge.
All right, one of the many logistical issues to work out is how the state would track your miles. Maybe you would take a picture of your odometer every year or note your mileage when renewing tabs. In the name of privacy, the state is also looking at offering drivers a flat rate if they don't want the state to know how many miles they've driven. Oregon was actually the first state, though, to have some kind of pay-per-mile program. Ours has just been voluntary since it began in 2015. It's called ORego, and your vehicle has to be electric, hybrid, diesel, or gas-powered and be rated at 20 miles per gallon or better. Members pay 2 cents per mile. Tracking those miles is done in 2 ways, either reporting to the state directly or using a GPS device to track travel. So What's the benefit? Why do it? Well, new EVs and cars that get 40 miles per gallon or better get a discount on DMV fees, ranging from $35 to $115 a year. Others get a credit on the fuel's tax. More than 40 states are studying a pay-per-mile idea because so many rely on gas taxes. We'll keep you posted on plans for the strategy in Washington and if Oregon considers making it mandatory. Well, coming up next on The Story, today marked the end of a weekly tradition in a western Washington town. A tradition older than the state of Washington itself. Yet another newspaper will print no more. What staff there have to say about the news when The Story returns. It's the end of a newspaper era in the state of Washington, based in the tiny town of LaConner. The state's longest-running weekly newspaper is folding. The last edition of the LaConner Weekly News was published today, and unless someone decides to revive it in the weeks to come, it's done. Eric Wilkinson spoke with the paper's staff about the bittersweet goodbye.
Freedom of the press exists to protect you.
Ken Stern proofreads his final editorial one last time. This deadline is a permanent one.
This is the last issue I'm publishing of the LaConner Weekly News under my ownership.
The LaConner Weekly News has informed townspeople since 1879, 146 years, making it the longest-running weekly paper in the state of Washington. In fact, it's 10 years older than the state of Washington. But at 69 years old, the paper's owner and publisher says he's tired, burnt out, and more than ready for retirement.
I don't have to take one more photo, cover one more town council meeting, assign one more story, or write one more editorial. I'm completely satisfied with what I've accomplished.
Stern has been trying to sell the paper for 2 years but couldn't find a buyer. Leaving the town without its only independent local news source is difficult, but Ken says it's just time.
I have this sense that I'd like to be making a contribution to my community, and I've been able to do that.
The small staff is moving on to new ventures. They say they'll miss serving the tiny town of fewer than 1,000 people. They call it a special place that embodies the true meaning of community.
The sad news to the good news, to just keeping everybody educated in what's going on in our community. And that's a good feeling. That's a wonderful feeling.
It's fun to do, just to reflect the community and just tell people stories and let them know what's happening. That's always been the best part of the job for me.
It's going to be a really sad day for LaConner when the doors close.
For the town, certainly. For Ken Stern, not so much. He's turning a page in his life. His next assignment, relaxation.
I'm happy as the clam at high tide, and I'm going to swim away.
Now, there is a lone long shot plan to save the paper. A community group is trying to raise the money to buy it, but so far that has not come to fruition. We'll keep you posted if it ever does. Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. And because of the holiday, I'm taking the next couple of days off, but the show goes on. The team has some great content planned for you. Remember, you can always stream the story on your own schedule. Just download the free KGW Plus app. It's available now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Good night.